Are you recording it? Oh, yeah.
Sorry, with Elia, Blue Dance is the short film. It's an experimental film that played at the Experimental Dance Music Film Festival. Really interesting film. It was done at Loyola Marymount University, right, which is in California.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And was this your thesis project or like a school? Like, what was the project for?
It was my first year. So I'm in grad school. We have 3 years. So this was done on my first year.
Oh, your grad school.
Hmm.
So I probably talked to a dozen people from Loyola Marymount, so they seem to be doing some good things within filmmaking.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Yes, we do have a great community and they make us work a lot. They make us, it's very hands-on. So we get to make films and to work on each other's sets, and it is a great program in that regard.
And you're from France originally?
Yes, so I'm from France, and so I prepared this movie actually on my first year, but then, something happened back then. Something big happened, so I ended up shooting this in France during lockdown. And yeah, I'm from Paris. Yes.
And so how is that process when you're going to school in California, but you're virtual and you're shooting this in Paris, you like give the faculty the script? Like, how does that work?
We actually finished all the pre-production and the script was ready. And the shooting dates were 22nd of March, 2020, and the stay-at-home order came in 3 days before, 4 days before. So everything was locked, like the team, the location, everything was locked. But then, California shut down. So I ended up doing a sizzle of the movie for grades. And then I moved back to Paris and started our production from scratch to make this movie. There was I was able to keep my DP, my cinematographer, Fiore Carmen. She's from the Netherlands and she was in the same case as me. She went back to Europe when the stay-at-home order came. And our gaffer is Camille Paya. She's from France too. So we ended up working together, but obviously the cast, we had to recast completely because it was not possible to have the cast from California to come over.
So it's a really interesting story. It's about this. It centers on this widow. Her husband just died in a terrorist attack, and she's going through her her trauma and her depression of losing her husband, but she also has to be a mother to her son at the same time. And it's like this is a very common story for a lot of people, unfortunately. And it's like it really the way you start the new movie out in the bedroom, where like she has nothing left in her, and her all her son wants to do is play with her,
Mhm.
and it's not his fault, right? He's a kid. That's what kids do, right?
Yes.
So, and it's like she's trying her best, but it's not working out, right?
I think it does work out, but it is a difficult day.
In the moments, I guess in the
In
moments,
the
like it's
moment,
yeah.
yes, in the moment, I think parents will relate to the fact that it's hard to have a time for yourself and to even grieve when you have responsibilities and life is there and people are depending on you to live, which is the case of her son. And I think the way this character is, this she does take care of this kid, but this is a hard day. It's a holiday, and it is a hard day to grieve. And she looks like she needs it to
And he,
grieve. Mhm.
I'm saying her husband is there, like basically all his stuff still in the closet, like it's pretty new, one would assume as the audience, and it's like, so she's just constantly reminding, and I'm sure her son looks a little bit like her husband as well. So there's that extra. That's like it's really, yeah, you really kind of show the emotional journey of this character, like in a very you submit to our festival, experimental festival, but there's a strong narrative in this film.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and I think for everyone that loses somebody, there's always it can be someone you lose, but or who died or someone who left. I think that we all kind of deal with the absence, and having the ghost of somebody or coming back and haunting us, whether you go back to places where you've shared something with somebody. And I think that that is somehow something I try to capture in this film, how those ghosts can serve as a good memory, but also as as a difficult haunting presence.
Yeah, well, so this is a pretty profound story, and you're relatively young, you're still in film school. Where did you kind of come up with this idea? Where did this idea come from for you?
So it all started, it started out as a poem. It really is about the people. It was born in a very kind of in the winter, in a Parisian winter, where you feel a little bit melancholic and a little bit not desperate, but depressive kind of ambiances, and trying to find purpose and light in that space. And then very soon after that came what the poet that I wrote this poem with. She had a close person. She lost her nephew, so that was a very difficult things to process for her, and I was close to her in that time. And I had another friend also, another member of my family, going through divorce, and that was really, really hard to see the family getting separate and having to say goodbye after a really long time of being together and being a family. And then the hardest part that happened was the terrorist attack in Paris
Mm.
in 2015. Because it is one thing to see it happen in someone else's country, or any kind of, a shooter coming and shooting everybody. You see that in movies, you see that it happens in the States, but it never hit in our own home, in the places where we used to have coffee, and had a lot of my friends be living in that area where it happened. And even one of my friends, it was around her birthday, and she wanted to go to the concert where it happened, but she couldn't get in because it was sold out. She was waiting for her friends in a cafe, and in the pool of those friends, some made it and some others didn't make it.
No.
And we had to wait all night to find out who died and who didn't. And for the people who died, it was very difficult because they had to get out, on piles of body. And it was a very dark time in Paris. It was so chaotic. It was everywhere in the city. And after that, for 2 years or 3 years, we couldn't go anywhere without military people checking our bags. And so that was a little bit traumatic. So I think that as I had to go through rewrites, when those events happened, then it slowly started to be in there as an emotional response of what happened.
That makes a lot of sense. In your blog, in your director's statement, you said this is your words. You say that in France, death is taboo. People grieve
Mhm.
privately. This
Yeah,
contrasts greatly with my African roots, where mourning is collective, loud, with external visual expression. Death is
yeah,
joyfully part of life.
yeah.
So it's a contradiction to your ideology, I guess, right? Like the way they mourn in
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 France.
France to who
Mhm.
you are, right? So that's
Yeah.
part of the film as well, right? Like about how people mourn, how people deal with death.
Exactly. And that's why it's a gift to have movies. I think it's a gift in France and everywhere in the world to be able to express, um, to have a place, to have a response, because there's no really, I don't, there's no space really for it, I think, in France, at least to my knowledge. Like, it is very acceptable in Madagascar for a widow to wear black all year, and they would invite everybody to just cry so loud, and so there is a space, like we make space to grieve, but from what I've seen in France, at least, like people grieve very privately, and we don't know what's going on. We don't know that, like, they go to their therapist, I guess, to process it, but around everyone kind of don't want to talk about it, and we don't know. And so I have one friend, her mom died when she was young, and her father still have the close 20 years after. So it was like really, yeah, that's, yeah, I think that there was a need, at least for me, and I hope for other people, that the movie can help in that way, to have a space to, I would say, lament, because the lament is really, sometimes sad is too sad, and there's so many beautiful art out there for the people who are sad, but sometimes it can be really dragging you down and being really hopeless. And so that is one of my challenge here, is how to create a space to face trauma, but without being completely consumed by that sadness. So yeah, that's one of the challenge here.
Yeah, 100%. Like this your character in your poem movie, your movie, it's like the first scene in the film. It's like you're in her bedroom, she leans over to find him and he's not there. Like she's still, that's still her instinct, right? And
Mhm.
then she still has his clothes hanged up. She hasn't gotten, like, you mentioned that person who had the same clothes for 20 years. Like, it's not letting go. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm just saying that 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 basically you kind of have to, there's got to be a forward direction in the grieving process, I guess, right?
Well, I really can't. I really don't want to be patronizing when it comes to grieving, because I think everyone does it in their
Sure,
own
yeah, you're
right.
I'm just, yeah.
And so, yeah, no, I'm just saying, in like, that was like 5 years, that we can see through her being pregnant and, having this kid. But it is just, I don't know if, there's different intensity, I guess, also, like with the grieving process, where even if we get rid of the clothes, there will be something else, coming that we hold on to. So I think, yeah, everyone grieving their own process. There's no textbook for it, I guess.
And there's a little kind of little elements where the son is trying to wake up his mother. It's her birthday, and he's got a toy gun, and he
Yes,
sticks it right in her face,
yes.
which is it's an interesting choice. Obviously, it's an obvious choice, but it's an interesting choice. Like, about the
What?
innocence of, like, of that he's a kid. He's just having fun, but it's like there's that extra element as the audience. It's like kind of like scary that he does that.
Yeah. I mean, it is really a toy gun. It's water, so
Yeah.
it is completely. But I think it's everything. His clothes. I think it is to create that contrast between that complete innocence and view of the world. And I think the kid doesn't miss his father, because he hasn't known his father, and the reality of the and the horror of the situation. I think that, yeah, I think it's a visual way to underline the contrast. Yeah. And bring that innocence. Like, it is life is a balance. You have to jungle with the horror, and also with the light. It's not one thing or the other. It's both that you have to balance every day. So yeah.
So let's talk about, I'm curious about the casting. Where did you
Mhm.
find the mother, obviously the mother and son specifically, where did you find those two actors?
That's a pretty happy story because they are mother and son. So I casted when I posted, I got yeah, I got a lot of response. At least like for me it was a lot. It was like 250, something like that. And I usually have a short list, and for me it was funny because when I looked at all, I literally kind of fell in love with this actress right away. I wanted her right away. So you have to plan for a backup. So I still talk to other actresses, but then when we actually get to Zoom, and she told me she had a son and proposed, to work with her son, it was very easy. The decision was very easy because on lockdown, it was very hard with all the regulations, with COVID and just the security of everybody. To have also the parents on set and all. I think this was just the best case scenario.
Instant chemistry too, right? So
Yes, exactly. And then have that chemistry. Of course, it can be a double sword because she's a mother. So if anything happened with the son, she would worry. So like we had to handle and manage both on set together. But she's so mature, and she was able to coach her son. She's Russian, so that was a very interesting. Also, um, it's something in France. So in France, in Paris especially, the diversity challenge is that most of the roles goes to pretty much Parisians that don't have accents. Like accents are really not acceptable. Like so, even people that comes from other region of France would struggle to land a role, and they would have to learn how to speak Parisian basically to land a role. So this actress, she's very trained in Russia, and she was great, but her accent was very strong. And so it was a happy coincidence that this is a visual movie. So she didn't have to talk so much,
yeah.
and we didn't have to uh, deal with that. Um, yes.
Yeah, it's a really, really nicely directed. Everything's from her point of view. Everything's like where you get really close on her aesthetic and what she sees and what she, but then the sun's always in the background. It's like there's great depth in the film. But talk to me about the flashback scenes with the husband where she's like kind of painting his face.
Mhm.
Who is that gentleman? Who's that actor?
So who is the actor? So we casted him. It was Well, we were happy to find him because the challenge was finding an actor that can act and that can also dance, which is another requirement. And in California, we had a choreographer as that we casted for the role, and it was hard to lose him. So we had to kind of um have like a white slate, see someone who can dance, and we work together with him, um as into just see how he feels and what he feels about this entire, and give him the freedom to create the dance, a dance that he can actually dance, because he's not a professional dancer. So he's an actor that can dance, but he was not at the same level as the choreographer that we had in California. So we just completely adjusted and worked on a choreography that could work together, and also with the cinematographer after that to film it, and to make it part of this story.
Yeah, it's an amazing little film that you made. I'm assuming that you passed the class that you filmed for the with this is for?
Yes, of course. Yes.
People liked it?
So people have not seen it actually because I went to my second year and I was graded on the CSOs, so they haven't really had a chance to see this movie.
Gotcha. And
Yeah.
so what are you working on something now? You're in school?
Right now, no, I have graduated, so I'm done with school. I still have one film that is in post-production, that I would like to recatch, but has been shot. And it's a personal film, more it's an immigrant story, on a businessman that loses everything and spend his first homeless night with on the beach and meet this African immigrant alien that lives in a hut. So it really is the story of them, being at the bottom of their life and facing that together. So yeah, I'm working on that movie and I have two other films right now that are running festivals. I just got back from Germany, where I presented Prison is Cool, which is a little documentary that got selected in Landshut Kurz Film Festival. And I have my thesis film Inadequate, that is a social drama that will be premiering in 2 weeks in the Poppy Jasper festivals in the Bay Area.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So are you gonna stay in California in the future, foreseeable future?
Um, I like as for now, I'm on OPT, so I'm doing so I'm given a chance to work right now in the States until January, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Gotcha. But filmmaking is your present and future.
Yes.
And what did you think about we sent the audience to you? What did you think about the audience had to say about your film?
The audience from the festival,
Yeah.
it was an amazing feedback because they were able to put words into what they were feeling, and that is a sort of a validation of like, okay, they picked on the things that I was trying to do, that we were trying to put together. Um, when this movie was shown to friends and families and all, have had people actually bawl and cry, but they don't necessarily have the words to explain anything. So we just get that, visceral response. But it was really nice to have a more detailed response. It helps in many ways. So thank you
Yeah,
very much.
it's a great little poetic film. It really is, and it really, like you said, it touches on some subjects, but you're not kind of telling people what to feel or think. They're just this is the situation, and like you said, you don't want to patronize grief. Everybody has their process, but you're just kind of showing a certain moment that where this woman has a breaking point, and hopefully things will improve in the future.
Hmm. And
It's on the
yeah,
poem that you wrote, right?
yes, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, we co-wrote the poet. I wrote the script entirely, but the we wrote the poem first.
yeah,
And I wanted just to say something else, which is really that it was, I mean, maybe for you it's far, but for us, at least when we were in France, the media, they yeah, it was very mediatized, the terrorist attack.
yeah,
And it's a lot of shocking image and stuff, but behind all that, like we make a spectacle of people's misery, and we watch at that and it makes us emotional sometimes, but we also like, part of that, and the problem is that there is people behind that. So it really is about also exploring like those people are really feeling and really lost somebody, you know, um, and 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 being able to come to them without this like without making a spectacle, of their grief or of what happened to them, so
yeah.
there was this desire to not show like violence on screen, or or try to make it like a news report, but really just see their journey emotionally, having to deal with it even 5 years after, where the buzz is gone, but they still dealing with that. It still affects their life every day.
100%. Well, on that note, yeah, that's a great way to end it. And I appreciate your time. And let's talk when you make your next film.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes.
you.